Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. Welcome to the Heal It Show. Today, we are going to talk about healing the stressors in your life. Well, there's a lot of shows out there about healing stress, right? Yeah, but none like this show. Okay. You know, when you open up, how do you heal? How do you heal our stress? Well, some people go to the doctor and they get medication. Some people maybe go out and start exercising a little more, or maybe changing up their diet. Those are great things to do. Some people don't do anything. They just figure it's going to go away, but it's not. Okay. And, we know that stress is, I think about 60% of the people in America experience stress at least 3 times a week or more. And I believe it's a lot more than that, quite frankly. That's the polls that they've come up with. But a lot of you are feeling that way. But hey, listen, how about you reduce stress permanently out of your life? How about you get rid of anxiety permanently? Wow, interesting. That's interesting. Now, I'm not talking about healthy stress. You go to the gym, you work out, you push yourself a little bit, and you build some muscle, and that's a little stressful on your body. Yeah, sure. You're like me, you decide, oh, okay, I'm gonna, learn how to run a marathon, or maybe I'll learn how to ride a bike, or I'll play tennis, or I'll go ski, or so. Yeah, that's gonna be stressful, but that's not kind of stress we're talking about. I'm talking about that unconscious stress that so many people have, they don't even know they have it. They're so used to living with it that they don't realize they have it until what? You get heart palpitations, you have an anxiety attack or panic attack, or all of a sudden you find yourself, reacting and getting upset. And, you all know what I'm talking about. All right. So let's talk about how do we heal it permanently? Well, here's what I think. One of the ways we can do this is open up our creativity, okay? So you can engage in this might be counterintuitive to a lot of you guys especially, but you can open up to maybe your artistic side of you. Maybe you start journaling, maybe you start painting, maybe you start writing, maybe you decide to you got that old guitar sitting around somewhere, and maybe you decide, well, maybe I'm going to write a song. Maybe I'm going to play a song to somebody I love, You also embark on a path of emotional healing, right? So, if you want to heal anything permanently, I believe you have to heal it mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. We got to get tuned back into our soul. What our soul loves is open up that creativity, like I mentioned before, but also let go of the emotional wounds. Now, on my website, kendfoster.com, if you scroll down there, there's a process I give away for free. It's called the release process. That'll help you to heal the emotional baggage that you might be carrying. Again, unconscious baggage that's probably been there for years. It's take you 2-3 hours to do it, but be like taking a dark pair of sunglasses off that you didn't even know you had on. What other things that we can do to let go of stress? Well, I believe that stress sometimes is caused by lack of self-worth. How do we get lack of self-worth? Well, some of you've taken on so much that now you've become a procrastinator. You just can't catch up. You can't do all your projects. And now you start to identify as somebody that procrastinates. I don't know of any way that impacts self-worth more than committing to something and then saying that you're going to do it, and then you do not do that. Okay. In other words, you break commitments to yourself constantly. That'll impact your self-worth. So we want to enhance that. And there's so many other ways that we can do this. But why am I talking about this? Because I believe when you start to open up your creativity again, then you start to heal the stressors. And I have a guest who we're going to talk a whole bunch about a great journey that she's been on and has taken with her husband. And, you got to step into courage to do this. You got to, to open up your creativity, you got to say yes to the unknown. And you got to leave room for spontaneity, for vulnerability. You got to be able to maybe take a trip, a journey that you've never taken before. This is interesting. All right, listen, I'm going to take a break. That's my monologue for today. I'm going to take a break. And then when I come back, I'm going to have my guest on the show. We're going to talk about the unknown journeys that maybe you can take and be inspired by her journey with her husband. We'll be right back.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Heal It Show. Maggie Tate, I'm so happy to have you on my show today. And when you were in the green room, I was seeing that big smile of yours. Like, oh, this is going to be a great show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's great. Well, so let me just give you a little formal introduction to those people that might not know you yet. Maggie Tate is a photographer. She's a video editor. She's a social media strategist based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And with a keen eye for storytelling and digital engagement, she serves as the Director of Communications and Business Development at Groxio, where she leads strategic communication efforts and oversees the planning of the annual Gig City Elixir Conference. I love that. We'll have to talk about that. She's passionate about fostering connections, and Maggie thrives as a natural gatherer of people with hospitality as her love language. I love that. Her work is seamlessly blends creativity and technical expertise, making her an invaluable asset in visual media and organization. And I know so much more. I know that already about you, Maggie.
Thank you.
So listen, you have, why I wanted to have you on the show is because, you know, you have this great adventure you took and you're calling it the Great Loop Journey together with your husband. What inspired this?
So in 2021, we were still in the throes of COVID, and my husband had, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe like the major comorbidities that you would have if you were going to be really sick from it. He had most of them. And so we had just really kind of locked down during the pandemic. And because hospitality is my love language, we stopped going out. We didn't see as many people, feeling lonely. And I was filling out my journal, which has this little box in it that says, what are you looking forward to? And I thought, ugh, I'm not looking forward to anything. This is a terrible place to be. I must figure out what I'm going to do. And so friends of ours had recommended to me to read this book called From What Is to What If. And it's really about city planning. But the gist of it is, instead of asking yourself, why can't I do something? You reframe it and say, how can I make this thing happen? What if I could do this? What would it look like? And so I thought, well, okay, that's probably a good place to start. So let me lean into that and see what that's like. And so then I thought, okay, well, I like boats. What if we could take this boat trip and just have something to dream about, right? And the boat trip is called America's Great Loop, and it's a 6,000-mile journey around the eastern half of the U.S. It goes up through New York and through Canada, back down the rivers, down through the Great Lakes, and then we got back home to Chattanooga. So that was the plan. And then I thought, well, if we're going to take this boat trip, I probably need to learn a little bit about the trip. So then I read another book called The Great Loop Experience. And my husband, Bruce, said when he came down the stairs and he saw me reading this book, he's like, oh my gosh, we're really going to do it, because I'm not the adventurous one in the house. He's the adventurous one. So that's how it started.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So yeah, there are people sitting around right now, and they're feeling a little stuck. I know my audience. Some of you, I'm talking to you right now. You're feeling a little stuck. You're like, your creativity's kind of shut down. You don't really have a vision of a bright, brilliant, amazing future, and it's time to maybe take the great loop, your own great loop. That's a great trip, girl. Maybe 6,000 miles on the boat. How big was it? How big was the boat?
It was only 29 feet. It was a Ranger Tug R29. So it's 31 feet overall, 10 feet wide. It had everything we needed. It had a galley and a bathroom and a bed. And, we just really simplified for 9 months. So it was 290 square feet. So that was me and my husband and our old dog at the time.
Yeah.
And so that we set off for that.
Wow. Yeah. I was thinking of that movie I saw, Minimalized, I think it was. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. We were really minimal.
Minimal. Yeah.
Really minimal.
Really
it was awesome.
Yeah. That's so cool. But there's something about it when you simplify, life. The times I've done this in my life, life got really rich, where I just back to basics and not having to keep track of all the stuff and the cars and the kids and the dogs and the cats. It's just there's something to be said about that.
It's true. It's true. It was just
for me. I find that daily I do that in meditation today, but nothing like that. Let me ask you this.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, some of the most memorable experiences on the journey.
So, do you want good or bad?
I want the ones that taught you the most. How's that?
Yeah, okay. So it was really interesting. The first hard one that we did was 3 days into the trip. And we were cruising down the river, the Tennessee River, and we left in January. So it was really cold. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really cold. And I thought it'd be fine because we're in the South. It's not going to be that cold. Well, we had a cold snap that hit the South. And I think out of the first 2 weeks that we had, it was probably like most of the nights were freezing, below freezing, which is really problematic on a boat. And the marinas stopped their water. And so it was cold. And so the third day of the trip, we really didn't know what we were doing yet because we hadn't been really boaters ahead of taking this journey. So we're headed down, we're around Decatur, Alabama, and these waves start building up. And we had not yet learned what fetch was. And on water, fetch is the buildup of the water from one end of a body of water to the next with the wind. And it can be not a big deal at one end, but then by the time it gets to the other end, the waves can be very high. And so we were on a part of the river that was straight, and there was wind coming straight up the river. And when wind comes against a current, it makes the waves even higher. And so at some point in the span of like 5 minutes, we went from 2 or 3 foot waves to almost 6 foot waves. And we were not at all prepared for this. And so I looked at Bruce and I said, because he was getting ready to crest a wave and go down and turn because we were trying to get off the river and get to a marina. And I looked at him and I said, are we going to die? And he didn't answer me. And I was like, oh no. By that time we had gone down the wave and turned, and we had got it to the channels where we could get to the marina. But I thought, okay, so we didn't know about fetch. So we had to learn about that wind because we were going to be in this boat for 9 months. And that was an important lesson for us to really, wind speed matters, and the direction of the current matters. The direction of the wind against the current matters.
Yeah,
that was a big one.
It's that life lesson that everything counts, and we better be paying attention to everything, and not be like this. Okay, we gotta open up, and fortunately, you didn't die, but you got the life lesson. You got the life lesson, and was able to apply it. Yeah. Well, give me one more story, because that was awesome. Anything? What was the next one you got that you learned that was impactful?
I think the next one that we learned was a little bit, for me, the next one, a little bit farther down the river. We were in Florida, and we were storm bound in Pensacola, and we had to get across Pensacola Bay, the big body of water, and it was windy. And again, we'd already learned about fetch. We don't want to be in the water when it's really windy. And there was a more experienced boater that we were with that we were kind of really tight sticking to. And we were like, we are not leaving unless they're leaving. And so there was one morning and I needed to go. By this time, we'd probably been in Pensacola 4 days, just waiting, right? And when you're on a boat and you're just waiting and it was windy and it was rainy and I was over it. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go take a shower at the marina because it was bigger than the little, closet shower we had on the boat, and I'll get some laundry done and maybe I'll make some banana bread. And I started the banana bread and the oven failed. So that was a puddle of mush. And I thought, okay, well, now I'll go take the shower. And they started working on something at the marina and they had no hot water. So I'm like, okay. And then I thought, okay, I'll go do the laundry. Well, the laundry room was torn apart, so I couldn't even get that done that day. So there's just sometimes when you hit your head on the door and you're not going anywhere, you just need to take a step back and maybe just be present and wait,
But I think that's a life lesson for a lot of us in that, in fact, right now, I pay attention to Mercury retrograde, right? Mercury retrograde happens. And, years ago, my wife would tell me, hey, pay attention. I was like, no, I don't buy stuff. Until until my computer started failing and I didn't have any lights and, and all this electrical weird stuff. And then communication, I couldn't talk to people right. I was like, okay, maybe I'll pay attention to this, which I do. And we're coming into that next week.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, this show probably won't be aired when till we're out of Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
I want to say that experience is just that, right? When things start going wrong, how do you handle it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, in that case, I cried a little bit and just decided we were going to go for a walk in the rain, so.
You went for a walk in the rain. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's just like you embrace what is and you take a step back and all the plans of mice and men, it's just not going to happen that day.
Right. And that was one of the beautiful things to learn on the loop too, is that you're really, I wouldn't say you're at the mercy of the weather, but you have to wait. Right. And when the time isn't right, you don't go because it can be too windy or it could be too wavy or there are things that can happen. And so the trip was a real exercise in patience and pausing. We traveled around at 7 miles an hour. It was deliciously slow.
I remember when my wife and I lived on the Big Island of Hawaii for a couple of years. When we first got there, the maximum speed on the island is 55 miles an hour. I'm used to going 80. And then you get behind a big truck and they're going 40, like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? But eventually you slow down. Yeah. And one of my principles that I teach all my clients is slow down to succeed. Just slow it down. Yeah.
And that motto goes for the loop too. You have to slow down to succeed to be able to achieve.
You have to slow down to succeed. Yeah. It's important. Listen, I got to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a lot of political divide in our country today, and I'll bet you went through some political talks as you took a big loop. So let's talk about how you got to resolution with that, and maybe how you healed some of those divides. We'll be right back.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So, if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call. So please call right now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Kendi Foster. I'm talking with Maggie Tate. Her and her husband have written this amazing book called Currently Away. You can get it on Amazon or at other places that great books are sold. So Bruce is on the first. It says Bruce Tate up there. You know, I don't know how he got his name ahead of you, Maggie, but he did. Anyway, Currently Away. And you know, we are talking about bridging the dangerous seas of the big loop, but not only that, really the dangerous seas of life. And one of those dangerous seas is getting in a political discussion with a family member or a friend that might have a different point of view. How did you guys bridge that? What happened?
So we had them not very often because there were other things to talk about, but I think that was also the resolution to it. So we were with some friends, and the woman started saying some things about the vaccine and the virus of COVID at the time. And I just was like, I don't believe any of that. And Bruce is like, oh no, she's thrown a grenade, and we're staying with these people, and now we're going to have to leave, and it's been terrible. But what was great is that I talked about Bruce and his potential to get really sick. And we talked about our own experience with it. And I listened to their experience with it. Right. And I think that was the key, right? Nobody's living the same life, right? We all come at this thing from different perspectives and different experiences. And that I had to be curious. And that was for me the way through, right? Is to just find out a little bit about where they're coming from.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And, you know, I think, you know, life is not necessarily a straight path. You know, there's a lot of twists and turns, and there's a lot of, you know, disagreements between, you know, friends and family members and stuff. And I think when we get off of the, just as that, you know, book you said got you on your journey, what is to what if, when we get out of what is, okay, this is the only way it is. This is what I know. This is my point of view. And you go to, well, what if? What if I could learn? What if I could take another point of view on? What if even that point of view isn't what is? Maybe there's a third point of view. Maybe there's a fifth point of view. Maybe I could just get out of this black and white thinking into an area of colorful thinking where I could really look and explore many different options. And I think that's missing in this country today in many times. Yeah.
Yes. And it's a great question to ask yourself. What if I don't have all the information? Right. And it's a good lead into any conversation.
Well, you know, I don't know about you, but, you know, I look at the stars above, and I look at, you know, I study metaphysics. I study neuroscience and quantum physics and quantum mechanics and, you know, political points. I study a lot. And quite frankly, you know, you probably heard this before, but the more I know, the less I know.
Yes.
And it's true. It's true. We live in this, it's like there's 100 million stars in the Milky Way galaxy alone. Hey man, how many stars are in the 100 millions of galaxies that are out there? We don't know. I don't know anything about, you know, the next Andromeda galaxy. I don't, you know, I know it exists, but what do we know about it? Right. That's the point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got to expand our thinking a little bit.
Expand our thinking. Ask the questions.
Ask the question. Hey, by the way, what are your favorite questions to ask?
Oh, that's a, I don't have a right answer for that one. I love it though. I usually ask people, well, okay, I do actually have one. I was reading a book, and it said, instead of asking like, what do you do or what's your job? They said, maybe consider like, what is your soul gift to the world? And I thought that was such a beautiful and a different way to approach it. Like, because that leads into, what are your hobbies? What are you curious about? What are your passions? What's your love? Right. You know, and I thought that was I was going to try to incorporate that one a little bit more into my
I love that.
my toolbox.
Well, I think it builds well with, I'm gonna just, I've been a business strategist and a life coach for over 30 years. So I would ask my audience right now, what has to happen for you to replay what Maggie just said? Write out those questions and get a journal out and really take a deep dive for yourself into those questions that she asked. One of my favorite questions that I ask, actually 3 questions at the end of the day, is what worked today, what didn't work today, and where can I improve tomorrow? I love that question. I also love waking up in the morning saying, what am I grateful for? Right?
Yes.
And my eyes open. Boom.
Yes.
Yeah. It creates.
And that question
Life.
about how can I make tomorrow better too is always worth just diving into, right? Like it's such a beautiful reflection of what you did today, and how tomorrow can be just a little bit better.
Yeah, usually for me, when I ask that question, I get a lot of different answers. One of it might be just surrender to knowing it all.
Yeah, but not going to happen.
And maybe just having some fun like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Now, there's a point to me, our interview today too, because, I started out the monologue. There are a lot of people that are stressed out, and I'll bet you after you got into the cruise for a while, I bet there were moments that you just felt stress-free completely. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there were. One of them, we were sitting in New Smyrna, Florida, and we were not in a typical marina. We were at a bed and breakfast that actually just happened to have a dock. And so we were parked at the dock, and it was quiet, and I was watching the pelicans just kind of dive and catch their fish. And I was just sitting on the back of the boat, and I heard this, and I'm like, what is that noise? And I looked beside me in the water. There was a sea turtle that had just like popped his head up. And I thought, if I wasn't sitting here, if I wasn't being slow, I never would have caught it. And it was just such a beautiful moment to have witnessed and to participate in.
Those moments are really precious. I was sitting in my backyard last week, and I was enjoying the sunshine, and I'm hearing this little hummingbird around me, right? And I'm thinking, when hummingbirds come into my life, I always know that it's the metaphysical, or I want to say the Native American understanding of hummingbird is that they bring joy. They bring joy, right? So I thought, oh wow, God's telling me this should, just tune into joy. Yeah. So as I sat there for a moment, he kept buzzing. I'm like, this is interesting. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I looked up, and he's building his nest right above where I we have a patio, and I had recently taken off the curtains off of this little this hook. So he's got a little hook, and in this little tiny hook, he's building his nest right above my head. I'm like, I just felt so much joy.
That's very cool.
But it's those moments, right? And I'm not sure if it takes it takes what it takes for all of us to get to that place. And when the next question I want to ask you is, when you got back from the journey, how was integrating back into the world? How was that for you? And then, let's start there.
Yeah. So the day we got back, we came into our dock, and we had told friends that we were coming back. So we had some people there to greet us, and that was lovely. And we spent about maybe an hour gathering and being welcomed home. And then my sister-in-law had joined us the night before to pilot the boat with us back to our dock. And that was really fun to come into town with her. But Bruce had to get her back to her car. And so a friend took the two of them back about an hour away to pick up where her car was. So I was left alone, and I left the boat, and I went to our house, and our boat's 290 square feet, and our house is like just under 2,000 square feet. Right. So it felt enormous. And I get to the house and I am lost. I don't even know what to do. My niece was here and she was up in her bedroom, so she was quiet. My sister-in-law and she had moved in temporarily because they were between houses, between one selling and another one closing. And her little dogs were here. And our dog had died on the trip. And so this was the first time I was in the house without the dog that had been with us for, 14 years. And then I was like, okay, the dogs are a little noisy. I'm going to go sit on the deck. And our deck faces the Tennessee River. It's really beautiful. And there's a gun range downriver from us. And people were like shooting the guns. I was like, oh, this is too noisy. And then some kids were playing down below and screaming. And I was like, I got to go back to the boat. I can't be here. So I went back to the boat and I went back to the bedroom and I just laid down. And Bruce said he came in like 10 minutes later. He found me. He's like, he said he would walk in and like, I was like crashed out like a drunk on the bed with like one leg on the ground and one leg in the bed. And I was so overwhelmed from coming off that little thing, moving at the pace of 7 miles an hour to suddenly like trying to get back into what land life was. It was a very difficult transition. It took me probably 6 weeks before I could drive on the highway because I couldn't go 45, let alone 70, and it was really difficult.
Interesting. It was the only thing I can relate that to is I took, I was running a $200 million organization and I had started from scratch within the Bank of America system. And, at that time I had 350 Bank of America branches under my region. And, I got to a point and I decided I'm not going to do that anymore. I didn't know what I was going to do, but anyway, I left the organization and I decided I wasn't going to go back to work. So I started reading and just completely changing my lifestyle. I started doing simple things again. And that took me on about a 2-year journey. Yet I was just really reflected. I learned to meditate. I went back and started exercising again. I lost 50 pounds. I did some amazing things, right? And, I remember though, at one point I decided, well, I think I'm ready to go back out and get a new job. And I thought I'm going to go to the mall and, see what I want. And I got to the mall and, I had been at that point in time, my savings had diminished and stuff. And, I hadn't been in a mall in 2 years. And I walked up in and I looked at it and I couldn't believe the prices. I couldn't believe that what I was seeing. I was like, what is this? And 2 years prior, I could afford everything. Right. And I'm looking at it going, this is so strange. Why? And then I looked at, why would I even want to buy this stuff? Right. Just more stuff. And it was like you, it was maybe a 6 month, no, maybe longer for me, about a 6 month integration back into, that's at that point I went and got a job with a guy by the name of Tony Robbins. And, he's a kind of a person, what does Tony do? He's a motivational speaker, a coach, trainer, that kind of guy, so that's what I wanted to do. So I went and got that, but man, what a transition it took. Same thing.
Yeah. So hard.
It takes what it takes. All right, listen, when we get back from the break, I want to take a deeper dive into your book, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the other stories and what my audience is going to walk away with when they do read the book. So we'll be right back.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. You know, we're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids, and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, The Heal It Show. You know, I hope this show, Maggie, today really opens up people's creativity and inspires them to get out of their stressful life and be able to start to take their own journey, you know, their own great loop journey, what that is for them to be able to, you know, de-stress, you know, start seeing reality clearly. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in our lives, we think this is the way it is, and it's not. Right. And be able to go down that path. You know, you wrote this amazing book with your husband, Bruce, and, you know, what, you know, if I, you know, when my audience reads this or I read this, what do we get to walk away with? What would you say?
I think you walk away with some inspiration for that, for having your own. I mean, not everybody can go get a boat and go on a 9-month journey, right? It's we were very fortunate that we had the time and we could work from the boat. Yeah. But I think in it, there's a lot of value because in it, we talk about the importance of relationships. In it, we talk about the importance of, you know, the time that we spent together was really important for us to be able to do this journey. Bruce is very vulnerable in his writing about his own mental health issue and where he was with struggling with both COVID and some other situations. And it's, I think people will take away encouragement for perseverance. There were certainly challenges that we had to face, that we had to navigate and get through together. And what I hope they take away with it is a real sense of how we need community. And one of the things that this great loop really taught us is that we were on our own boat, but we weren't doing the journey alone, right? We were alone, but not alone, you know? We weren't on our own. Because there were people that are around us.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean? What does that mean?
For us, so for the Great Loop, it's a seasonal trip, right? And people come in and go at different parts of the season. So we would see people in Florida that we might not see again till New York, but we were all kind of traveling, leapfrogging. They call it loopfrogging, right? As you go around and you might see people again. Yeah. And so it was just a great community, and you would find out, oh, this boater knows this boater. If you wanted to know what the docking situation was or what the town might be like, you could reach out and ask somebody who was a night or two ahead of you. Right. And it was, I think those kinds of things are key right now, especially with our political divide. We have to know the people around us. We have to have some kind of community that's encouraging, that knows things that we don't, that might help light the way. Right. And that one of the things that we took away from the trip was something called dock tails. At the end of every day traveling, we would gather up, you know, at some part of the marina. It might be in a park, and we'd have our camp chairs, and everybody would have some kind of drink and a snack, and we would all show up together and share. And we would talk about our day, and we would talk about what was coming and what might be happening the next week. What have you heard about the weather? Whatever, what was the best part? What was the hardest part? And we found that taking that back and bringing it back to our land life has been really wonderful. We don't do it every day because that's complicated and hard. It's not part of the rhythm on land. But we have a group of people that we started meeting with. I call it, I told them, I said, when I want you to come to this dinner with me because I want to travel the year with you. Right. And so this group would get together, every month or so for the year. And we started it again for this year, another set of people that we just travel the year with. And it's they come from all walks of life, and it's just been a great opportunity to continue to deepen relationships. And so I hope that people come away with the book with that encouragement, like go make some friends, have a potluck, get your neighbors out, sit in the yard. It doesn't have to be something fancy.
In terms of your own spiritual development, let's call it, how would you say that disconnecting and reconnecting to yourself has served you in the ways that you've grown or developed or become who you are today?
Yeah, I think Bruce would say that I, because I had to, like both of us had to drive the boat, both of us had to skill up, right? And so that has translated in my life and being in some ways more confident in ways that I wasn't. It also, there is nothing like being in a big space where you feel small, right? Like crossing the Gulf of Mexico, we are not big, right? We are little fragile things. And every now and then that's a really great reminder, right? That you are just a small little thing. And that's, I appreciate that. I appreciated that feeling of being small. Because it helps you walk lightly,
Yeah, I think small and unstoppable would be.
Well, that too.
That's got to be a part of that. Yeah.
Probably a part of that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's great. And so as a result of the journey, in terms of relationship, how would you say the relationship is grown or separated? I don't know you guys, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's really funny. People say when you do the loop, you need 3 things when you end it. You need Weight Watchers, AA, and marriage counseling. So I feel like we did, we certainly had more to drink than we'd ever had in our lives on the boat. We don't do that as much anymore. And we definitely probably needed Weight Watchers. But as far as the marriage counseling, we didn't need that. I feel like the trip really, with just 2 of you on a boat and 2 of you doing things on the boat, Bruce had to learn how to be a diesel engine mechanic. I had to learn how to make sure all of our food stuff worked and where it was going to store. We each had different responsibilities on the boat, but we also had to deeply rely on the other one doing their job. Right. And so that was a really great thing for us to have that 9-month time where we really had to lean in and rely on each other.
I love that.
And we've carried that away, which is
I love that. It sounded like a great, wonderful growth opportunity and trip, and congratulations to both of you.
Thank you
for doing
Thank
that.
you.
The book is currently away by Bruce Tate, and we hope you'll pick that book up at Amazon or books stores where books are sold. That you'll get that book and enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey with Maggie and Bruce. I think that's the message there. Yeah. And let me ask you, because I got about a minute left. Any final thoughts for the audience that you'd like to share?
I think for me, it's really encouraging people to delve into community. That we could not have done the loop without it, and I don't really think we can do life without it. It's I'm hearing a lot of friends that are worried about this or that, and they're feeling alone. And I think a lot of the solutions to the angst that we're going to find our way through the situation right there that we're in is with community.
Well, I think when people start to live from a mindset of oneness, I'm connected to you, you're connected to me, The generation last decade was kind of about the allaboutme.com. It's that, but it's not anymore. It's really collaboration.
Right.
That's where we are today, is collaborating with one another and learning how to get along with one another and embracing, not just your own point of view, but a lot of different points of view, so that we can become more cohesive as a individual, more cohesive as a community, more cohesive as society, and as a world citizen, instead of it's all about me. It's all about only this nation. I don't think that's the way to be. I think we all need to start to upshift our thinking in ways that we live from a place of oneness. What impacts me impacts you. What impacts you impacts me. What impacts our nation impacts your nation. We have to start understanding this, and if we do, we're going to be able to have a more loving, compassionate world. That's what I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thanks, Maggie. Thanks for agreeing. I love to agree. That's good. Okay. That's good. And I love the people that don't agree too. So I'm okay. Either way, we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here. And
thank you.
Thank you. And say hi to your husband, Bruce, for me, please.
Will do. Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you for joining us today on the Heal It Show. This is a show that really is all about you. And again, I hope you will take it to heart to go to our YouTube channel right now. You can find us on the Courage Network on YouTube. Subscribe so that you don't miss a show. And also subscribe so you can pass it on to family members and people you really love. From my heart to yours, I hope you continue to search and seek out healing in all areas of your life. Take care.